Over 1,000 skeletons discovered during the renovation of Bone Church. Sedlec Ossuary, otherwise known as Bone Church or the Church of Bones, is a Catholic chapel in the suburbs of Kutna Hora in the Czech Republic. It's not your everyday Catholic chapel, though. On the contrary, it's actually one of the most unusual and unique chapels you could hope to find. Its nickname, the Church of Bones or Bone Church, came about due to the fact that inside the chapel there are between 40,000 and 70,000 skeletons of people who died during the mid-14th century plague and in the subsequent Hussite Wars. Their skeletons have all been artistically arranged into interesting formations. The bones have been crafted into creative sculptures, such as bell-shaped mounds and the Schwarzenberger's coat of arms. The Schwarzenbergers were local aristocratic rulers at the time. But the most impressive of all the formations is the gigantic bone chandelier at the center of the church. According to Radio Prague International, archaeologists who were conducting research at the 14th century ossuary have announced a remarkable discovery. While they were excavating the site, they happened upon 34 mass graves, which housed a total of 1,200 skeletons. Experts have commented that it is the largest find of its kind in Europe. Since 2014, the ossuary has been undergoing renovations, part of which is for archaeological and anthropological research purpose. Jan Frolic, a member of the research team, commented that this was the most significant discovery that's ever made. It was mentioned that there have been digging around the ossuary since 2016 when the Archaeological Survey was launched, and that their biggest find up until this point had been mass graves that housed the victims of a famine which happened in 1318 and victims of the plague in 1348. Jan Frolic added, "It could be compared to the burial ground in East Smithfield in London, which has some 500 skeletons. We've discovered about 600 plague victims and 600 victims of famine, so altogether 1,200 skeletons. Recently, they've started researching inside the chapel, as opposed to just the grounds outside, and found even more mass graves." Underneath the first pyramid, they found 5 more mass graves, which means that when the ossuary was originally built, they have no idea that the graves were even there. The church renovations have already cost around 45 million crowns and are projected to take approximately 10 years to complete. Even though the archaeological and anthropological research is in its beginning stages, Jan Frolic says the recent findings have already unveiled a great deal about the population of Kutna Hora during that time. They could be characterized as a mining population because there's a significant prevalence of men over women. Apparently, the ratio of adults to children was equal, which is the expected makeup of a population. But what was unusual was that there were significantly more men than there were women. This shows that there was a big chance that miners were constantly traveling through that area. It's also said that being a miner was a very dangerous trade at the time. These things aside, everything else seemed to be in order for a typical medieval society with regards to the kinds of injuries and illnesses people had suffered. There were fractured limbs detected in the bones, and some of them were badly grown together. It was also recorded that there were signs of tuberculosis and meningitis. The Sedlec Ossuary is probably the country's most macabre attraction, as well as its most popular attraction. Every year it sees hundreds of thousands of people walk through its doors.